During the first Avengers film, the superhero team take on the alien forces of Thanos, led by the god of mischief, Loki. However, the Avengers are able to defeat this foe when Iron Man directs a nuclear warhead into a portal, seemingly destroying the invading aliens. But what if the alien forces had been more powerful and could not be repelled with a singular nuclear weapon? What if the invading alien force had been the Empire from Star Wars? Before we start this matchup, we need some rules. To prevent too much complication, we will leave out the more overpowered characters that have more recently been introduced, such as Captain Marvel, and will assume that the Avengers team is the same one that repelled the Chitari during the first Avengers film. We will also assume that for whatever reason, the Empire will not use the Death Star on Earth, and will be trying to take over the planet rather than destroy it through the use of superweapons or orbital bombardment. The Empire will bring a fleet similar in size to the one used at the Battle of Endor, the largest battle during the Galactic Civil War. The Empire will also have Darth Vader and Palpatine at their disposal. Before we get into the matchup itself, we must quickly explore the abilities of both factions. As we have talked about the Empire at length on this channel, we will first take a look at the Avengers, starting with the least powerful characters before delving into some of the more powerful members. So first of all, we have Black Widow, an incredibly lethal assassin. Natasha Romanoff was trained from a young age by the KGB in various forms of martial arts, espionage and acrobatics. Formidable with many kinds of weapons, the Black Widow was able to go toe-to-toe with superpowered beings, despite not having any abilities herself. She was also an excellent tactician and was a core member of the Avengers team. Next up, we have Hawkeye, an excellent marksman. Hawkeye used a specialised bow and arrow to take down his enemies. Some of his arrows have the ability to explode, making them especially potent against more powerful or multiple enemies. Just like the Black Widow, Hawkeye was a superb assassin and was trained in a multitude of different martial arts and had mastered the use of several melee and ranged weapons, including swords, firearms and knives. Captain America, the first actual superhero on this list. Enhanced by the super soldier serum during World War II, Captain America, aka Steve Rogers, benefited from heightened levels of regeneration, strength, speed, intelligence and reflexes. The de facto leader of the Avengers, Steve Rogers was a masterful tactician, with his ability to inspire the people with his speeches unmatched by any of the other Avengers. Armed with a vibranium shield, Captain America was highly proficient at using this as both a ranged and melee weapon, and could use this as a sort of boomerang to take on multiple enemies at once. Next up, we have a personal favourite of mine, Iron Man. As well as some of the more obvious abilities such as flying and projecting powerful beams of energy known as repulsor rays, Iron Man also possessed a range of secret weapons they could deploy against his enemies, included standard lasers, energy blades, as well as smart missiles. Iron Man's armour also had a variety of defensive capabilities such as an energy shield. On top of his armour, Iron Man is an absolute genius, even solving extra-dimensional time travel in Avengers Endgame. Now we are getting to the more powerful members of the group. Hulk is undoubtedly one of the strongest beings in the Marvel Universe, even able to go toe-to-toe with Thanos for a few seconds, a feat few would be able to achieve. The angrier he got, the stronger he got, meaning as enemies tire in fighting him, he will only be increasing in size and power. As well as size and strength, Hulk possesses superhuman regenerative abilities, able to heal from wounds in seconds. During the attack on Earth by Loki, Hulk is seen killing many smaller enemies, absorbing their fire as if it is nothing. In the first Avengers film, he is even able to take on a beast hundreds of times his size. Of course, Hulk is just one half of this character, with Bruce Banner possessing genius level intellect on par with Tony Stark's. The final Avenger from the first film is Thor. An Asgardian, Thor possesses extreme strength, speed and stamina, far more than even Captain America and almost on a level with Hulk. What makes Thor the most powerful Avenger though is his hammer, Mjolnir. This could create and control lightning, projecting it from the hammer. It could also summon storms, allowing the weapon to conjure even more powerful lightning bolts from the sky. Taken together, these individuals were exceptionally good at working together as a team. often using their powers in conjunction with one another to overwhelm and confuse enemies. This team have been extremely successful, defeating both Ultron's and Loki's armies. The Empire has control over countless worlds and people, having access to almost unlimited resources. As we explored in the Could the Empire Beat One Dyson Sphere video, legend and canon numbers for the Imperial neighbour do differ, often significantly. However, both legends and canon can agree that there were just over 30 Imperial Star Destroyers active during the Battle of Endor, as well as Vader's Star Dreadnought, the Executor. If we add up the combined strength of the forces stationed on board these ships, we get to roughly 350,000 personnel. The vast majority of these would be armed with E-11 blasters, although the level of skill using these weapons was generally not very high. The Imperials would also have access to several thousand TIE fighters, all of which were fitted with turbo lasers. The Empire's most valuable assets in this battle would be its leaders, Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine, cybernetically enhanced with advanced technology, as well as dark side alchemy. Darth Vader was the most successful Jedi killer in the galaxy, single-handedly killing hundreds of them after the Clone Wars. A master in the Form 5 lightsaber style, known as the Way of the Krayt Dragon, Vader would incorporate other forms of lightsaber combat into his own style, making him both a precise yet brutal opponent in combat. Vader was also one of the most powerful darkside users to ever exist, and was famously highly proficient in the use of Force Choke and telekinesis. He was also able to use the Force to increase his speed faster than that of a regular human, a feat that was made more impressive when we consider the weight of his armour and cybernetics. This made Vader an especially deadly opponent, with the strength of a droid and the Force powers and cunning of a Sith Lord. Despite Vader's immense power, his abilities pale in comparison to his master, the Emperor. Most notably, Palpatine made use of Force Lightning, and was so proficient in its use, he could instantly vaporize the bodies of his enemies, and when he was at the height of his power on the Battle of Exegol, he could destroy multiple ships at once using this ability. While he was one of the best lightsaber duelists to ever plague the galaxy, Palpatine would barely ever make use of his sabers, preferring to use the Force or manipulation to defeat his enemies. So now that we have briefly explored the capabilities of both factions, who would ultimately win? The Imperial force, numbering in the hundreds of thousands, would of course outnumber the Avengers by an order of magnitude. However, it is likely that Iron Man and Thor would be able to take out many of the transport ships before they even had a chance to land. This would dramatically reduce the number of troops that would actually get to the ground. However, the sheer number of troops and ships would mean that, even with poor tactics, a significant portion of their forces would be able to push a ground attack against the Avengers. This is where Vader or Palpatine would really come into their own. The Sith's Force abilities would prevent any of the less powerful Avengers from getting anywhere near them, and it is very likely that Hawkeye, Black Widow and even Captain America may be killed at this point. Even Iron Man may be in danger. Without protection through Force sensitivity, non-Force users were in danger of being Force crushed, choked or electrocuted. Some of the more powerful Avengers, most notably Thor and Hulk, would most likely be impervious to such attacks, or would at least not be killed by them. It is easy to imagine a showdown between Thor, the god of thunder, and Palpatine, the master of Force Lightning, while Vader and the Hulk battle it out elsewhere. I believe that Hulk would ultimately be beaten by Vader through the use of the Force and his skill with a lightsaber, and I think it is unlikely that Hulk would even be able to get one hit on the Sith Lord. A fight between Thor and Palpatine would be more of a close match, and I actually think in a one-on-one scenario, it was very likely that Palpatine would be beaten by the Asgardian. However, Palpatine would have a massive military at his disposal, as well as a variety of nefarious Sith abilities that could confuse the often weak-minded God of Thunder. So ultimately, what do I think? I think that despite the Avengers' best efforts, they would be beaten 9 times out of 10. I think the only way they could possibly beat the Empire is through killing Vader and Palpatine. However, without some of the more powerful characters that have been more recently introduced into the MCU, I think that it would be almost impossible for them to achieve this. What do you think? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comment section below. See you in the next video guys, and as always, may the Force be with you.